Well, last week we brought you the story of the mother calling for a ban on the sale of legal highs. It's suspected that Karen Ordino's son Jimmy took a shop-bought synthetic form of cannabis which was bought from a shop in Kent.
Well, special correspondent Colin Campbell has travelled to Ireland, where the government has successfully closed down all shops that sell legal highs.
Petrol bombing shops selling so-called legal highs and countrywide demonstrations calling for the closure of head shops. This is how Ireland reacted to the widespread street availability of new emerging psychoactive substances.
I don't think there could have been a politician in the country who wasn't hearing week in, week out in their weekly clinics that these shops have opened in our area, across the road from a church, across the road from the Athletic Association. What are you going to do about it?
Just like the UK, legal highs in Ireland had caused deaths and illness.
In 2010, there were 103 shops, known as head shops, selling legal highs here in Ireland. Many of them were located here in Dublin. But responding to public anger and concern over the availability of legal highs, the government here introduced the Psychoactive Substances Act. It gave police the power to close down the head shops, making it a criminal offence to sell a legal high.
The shops were closed down overnight.
We took the bull by the horns basically and passed legislation in the criminal area banning those substances generally, but also we adopted a new procedure similar to the procedure of closing down food outlets, basically to put these premises on notice.
If Ireland can do it, so can England.
Karen Ordino wants the British government to act. Her son Jimmy was found dead in Gravesend last October. Next to his body was a packet of herbal cannabis bought from a head shop in Kent.
They're dragging their heels. They're not keeping up with the rest of Europe. They're the only ones that are actually not in line with Europe on this, so the British government need to do something. They need to act.
Is Ireland now a safer place because of this ban?
For younger people, yes.
But some in Ireland believe the legal high ban has driven the problem underground.
What did start to phase out at the time was these ecstasies or MDMA type tablets. Now they're starting to increase. But the trouble is a lot of these tablets, we don't actually know what's in them.
It was a public outcry that forced Irish politicians here to change the law. The head shops have all now gone, and most here believe it's a move that's made Ireland a safer place. Colin Campbell, BBC South East Today in Dublin.
Well, the Home Office Minister and Sussex MP Norman Baker has warned that these legal highs are becoming more of a problem than hard drugs, and he joins us now. Thank you very much for joining us. You've launched a review into these substances, Mr Baker, but isn't one of the fundamental problems that the chemical compounds in these substances keep changing, so it's actually hard to come up with specific legislation?
Well, that certainly is a problem. We've banned, in fact, over 250 of these so-called substances in recent times, so we're actually ahead of Europe in regards to these matters. We were even banning substances which don't actually exist yet, anticipating where the chemist will go next. But as you rightly say, we've launched a review and we're taking expert advice on that. There's also a parallel study of international activity, including what's happening in Ireland, which we're drawing on, and we'll have the review reporting by midsummer.
Because the Irish government is currently facing a legal challenge against their ban because of this very problem. So how would you mitigate that?
Well, I mean, the Irish situation is one which is of interest to us, of course, but it has its drawbacks, as was said in the report. It's driving the trade underground potentially, or onto the internet. It's also subject to a challenge as to what a psychoactive substance is. After all, tea and coffee are psychoactive substances. And of course, you can also have challenges in people who will be put out of business who may argue they were dealing legally in products which shouldn't have been banned. So we have to be very careful not to rush into legislation which, though well-intentioned, could have unforeseen consequences.
But having said that you don't want to rush into anything, local paper The Kent Messenger's website saying today that Kent has more shops selling these legal highs than any other county in the country outside of London. It does seem to be a rather urgent problem that needs addressing.
It is an urgent problem, but it's important to get the solution which is right and long-lasting and not having unwanted consequences. The police have been very active, and I've encouraged them to be so in dealing with these so-called legal highs, many of which, by the way, are not legal at all, and nor are they safe. There was a week of activity in November when we saw in Kent 9 kilograms of substances seized. We saw 44 arrests, and we've seen 73 warrants issued. So I've also issued guidance to local councils as to how to deal with head shops under existing legislation. So I want to assure you, absolutely, it's very much on our radar. We're far from complacent on the matter. It's very serious.
OK, Norman Baker, thank you.